Hi everyone. So today I decided to make a video on replacing the rear brake pads and rotors on a GMC or Chevy c4500, 5500, which is the topkick and kodiak version. So initially I started by disassembling everything, got that parts ordered, and I started assembling, putting it all back together, but then realized that some of you guys may need some help on how to disassemble and reassemble, so I figured I'd just make a quick video. So we're going to start off here. Let me turn the camera around. So this is the c4500 pickup truck. These basically it's a medium duty vehicle, and to start off, as far as disassembling, first step you want to do is pull the two bolts for the brake caliper. Just take two bolts off, pull them off completely. I initially rested them there. This assembly is already assembled, like I said, but once you pull the two bolts off, you can get right in here. You can see this little piece of the brake caliper is tucked up underneath here. Get a flathead screwdriver, pop it up. Down here, it's actually locked in there, so basically pop it out, and then the caliper is kind of heavy, so you want to make sure you tie it down to prevent it from falling. I just use a small meal tape. Tie it down, put it to the side, that way your brake lines don't get damaged. Then you have access to the actual brake pads. Once you pull the brake pads, then you gotta disassemble the rest of the actual caliper assembly, which you got two bolts. You got this guy here, and down below, I don't know if you can see it, but it's down over here. The second one, two bolts, 30mm bolt, inch and 3/16, pretty similar. I'm using a 30mm, which is the same bolt lug nut as the actual lug nuts. So once you got this assembly torn apart, now your rotor can spin freely. You'll be able to pull it out without any obstructions. Next step is you got 8 bolts, nuts, and washers around this area here, this hub. So I got this assembled. This is part of the actual axle shaft. Pull the 8 bolts apart. I just used this trusty impact, LT impact wrench. You pull the 8 bolts and washers. After you do that, you will get to these here. These are cone nuts. Basically, they're tapered off, and you put them in there, and with the amount of torque, when you torque them down, it actually compresses it, makes it so it won't come out. What you got to do, you got to get a sledgehammer. Just hit it a few good taps here. When you hit it a few good taps, as you're hitting it, it's going to push those cone nuts off, or cone washers. You should just back off the nuts, leave them in place, because once you hit it and you bounce it back, it's going to make those cone nut washers fly away. So having the 8 nuts in place will keep you from losing parts. Once you remove those cone nuts, which is super easy, then you should be able to slide the actual axle shaft out. Slide the actual shaft out, and you have this oversized washer or nut. Right behind that, you got the bearing. This is what I used right here. So this is a 3 1/4 8-point. It's the same. This is the 4x4 version, but essentially the same nut in the front than there is in the back. I did do a video on changing out the front rotors and brakes, so you can probably see that in my channel as well. So you back this off, pull that off, you pull the nuts off, or the bearing out, then your whole disc assembly and hub is free. You can slide it out right inside here. In every single one of these spots, there's a total of 10 bolts. And I'll go around to the other side. I got the new rim there, or the new disc, and the hub itself is right here. So it'll just essentially just rest right on there and bolt right out. These are the bolts that come in it. They're not, I was reading online, I saw someone were saying a T70, but this is just a standard. It was a 19 millimeter 6-point that I used, and I could recommend using a 6-point because the 12-point you can potentially strip them out. So yeah, that's as far as the whole assembly. You break those 10 bolts. I used the same thing, impact. Broke them free, reassembled it, pushed it back in place. Once I pushed it back in place, I put the bearing, put this nut in place. That locked it in place. Then I started assembling the brake caliper with brakes, and the now I'm up to where I need to push this in place. So all I'll do is push it in place, add the cone washers, flat washers and nuts, tighten them down, and that'll be for this one here. Keep in mind, when you do open up this here originally, you're gonna get some I guess it would be probably cure oil that comes out, so you may want to put like a little pan or something down underneath to catch all the drip. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Pulling the wheel off is super easy, but you may need some help because they weigh about 135 pounds a piece, and you'll have 2 on each side. Obviously there's a dual rear wheel. Once you reassemble everything, you will have to top off the actual center of the differential, the rear differential. Alright guys, well here's the video. Again, like I said, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I will respond as soon as I can.